Now, the Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki has called the the border crisis with Belarus the greatest attempt to destabilize Europe since the Cold War. The humanitarian situation shows no signs of easing as Poland continues to push back migrants trying to cross illegally. They face harsh winter conditions out in the forest along the border. Another migrant has been buried by members of Poland's Muslim community. More than 10 people have died in recent weeks while trying to cross into the European Union. And for more, we're joined now by our reporter, Amian Esif, who is in the Polish city of Haniówka. Amian, I know you've been out there for a few days now. Just tell us about what the situation is there today.
As you said, Christine, the situation shows no sign of abating. The checkpoints here, like the one you see behind me, are still firmly in place all throughout the region near the border. The exclusion zone around the border is also still firmly in place, keeping anybody from the media or from aid organizations from accessing the area around the border. About 6,000 troops have been deployed here, and more are coming. Estonia has promised 100 troops. The UK has promised 100 as well. As you can see, there's a military vehicle passing me right now, a lot of military activity in the region. That's because the Polish border guard says that every night, around 200 people try to breach the border into Poland from the Belarusian side. We know for a fact that several people had made it through last night. We had contact through a source that showed us, dropped us a pin where these people were camped out on the Polish side. And that is worrying because these temperatures have been dropping. This is the coldest day so far this week, around -3 Celsius or 25 degrees Fahrenheit last night. And hypothermia is the #1 reason why people get sent by migrants have been sent to hospitals in Poland, according to local volunteers.
We know that hundreds of migrants are still stranded in the forest. We also know that others were taken into shelters in Belarus. Can you give us an overview of that situation?
It's very difficult, Christine, to give any kind of overview of a situation like this because of the media blackout in this area, in the woods around the border. As I said, we had contact through a source of people who were in the woods, but contact with the people themselves is very difficult. The #1 reason being that they're hiding from authorities. They don't trust many people to contact them because they know that if they are found, either by emergency services or by the police, there's a chance that they will be brought immediately back to the fence and illegally pushed back to Belarus. Poland has a law in place since the end of October that says they can do this, even though it's illegal according to international law. So what is really happening to the migrants is a mystery. But what we do see is when they do come out of the woods, when they're desperate enough to call the medical services and risk being sent back to Belarus, they end up in a hospital or they end up, as you said, being buried because they did not survive the cold nights here in the woods without a tent or any resources.
Amian, how is the Polish government handling this crisis and what support is Poland getting from the European Union?
The Polish government has more or less split this into two different issues. The humanitarian issue, which they put over to the Belarusian side, and the political issue. Now, they've really only taken up the mantle of the political issue. That's why the Prime Minister has been doing a tour of the Baltic states to drum up support for the Polish military, for the Polish border guard, but they haven't been addressing the humanitarian issue. Now, on the political side, of course, there is no signs of de-escalation. The Polish side is, in fact, escalating by bringing in more troops, trying to show a display of force against Belarus. They've warned of more things to come. They said more worrying things to come, meaning that this could devolve into a real conflict with Belarus. But the humanitarian side, as I said, has not been addressed. That crisis is ongoing. We've seen the Council of Europe call for Poland to allow aid workers to get into this region of woods just beyond where I'm standing, where for now they have no access. And as I said, winter is coming. This is going to devolve into a worse situation if nothing is done about that.
All right, that's DW's reporter, Amian Esif, in the Polish town of Haniówka. That's at that border between Poland and Belarus. Thank you, Amian, for your reporting.